One more time. One more time. Are you able to see the screen being shared?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the confirmation. I welcome all of you to the conversation that we have in this session. It is indeed a very important and interesting conversation that you have to take very serious. Yeah, you need this for your exams this year. You will also need this same conversation next year when you will be researching. And again, in the future, you will still need this same conversation. So it's very important that you pay attention and you understand how we are going to look at things. Now, you see, we are still continuing looking at the past paper questions. Yeah, just as I told you that this year we want to start very early so that if possible, we can finish as soon as possible doing these questions. In the last class that we had, we looked at question number 1. Question number 1 was discussed, so we are not going to look at question number 1. Instead, we will consider question number 2. And even question number 2 as well is very broad. We may not manage to finish it, all of them. If we are to teach to make you understand and give you this as a practical skill, then it's very important that you... Okay. All right. So this is what you actually have. Yeah. So we will consider in this conversation, I want us to consider these 2 parts of the question. Yeah. I will talk about how to outline, how to come up with the problem statement of a research question. And I'll also show you how to choose a research topic. That's what we want to discuss. What things, what issues do you consider when you're choosing a research question? How do you come up with the aim of the research, and how do you come up with the research objectives, okay? How do you design the research objectives? So just these top parts, right? The first 12 marks, this is what we want to discuss. So to start with, we will answer the first question. With reference to your program of study, present a research topic, aim of the research, and the 3 research objectives. That will be the first part. In short, the first part of the conversation will be to train you. We are just going to focus on training you on how to choose a research topic, really, and how to come up with the research objectives. Once we're done with that, then we can move on to research problem statement as well. We'll show you how to write a research problem statement and what is involved in the research problem statement. That is the outline of today's conversation. Do I have any question? Are you able to get me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you that you are able to get me clearly. That's all right. So let's start with number 1. How do you choose a research topic? Right. Let me start with that one. A research problem. How do you choose a research problem or research question, research topic? Okay. Just to start with that one, research topic. Now, to start with, a research topic can still be called a research problem. It can still be called a research problem. It can still be a question. It can still be called a research question, yeah, or research topic, right? All this, they just refer to the same thing. So what is a research topic, or what is a research problem? A research problem, in a nutshell, is actually the question or the problem that you're going to be addressing as you are going to be researching. Remember, there should be the existing problem that is there. So you are going to be solving a particular problem. That problem that you're going to be, the summary, that short statement about the problem that you're going to be solving is what we call the research problem or the research question. So how do you choose these research questions? What is the guiding criteria? Number one, the things to consider. What do you consider? I'm teaching you how to choose a research topic. Things to consider. Things to consider when choosing a research problem. When choosing a research, a research problem or a research topic. What do you consider? Number one, you should understand that your research must be original, right? I've said that your research is supposed to be original. By original, we simply mean that it should be your work. It does not need to be, already researched somewhere. It is supposed to be, hello?
Are you sharing the screen?
I am sharing the screen. Is the class able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, the class is able to see the screen.
From my side, maybe.
I think you can log out and log in.
Okay.
Okay. So we are trying to say that the research question is supposed to be new. These are the issues that you'll be dealing with actually this very year because you're going to write a research proposal. So how do you choose that same topic? We know that the research topic is supposed to be new. It should be completely your work. It has to be original. So how do you get to know these topics? Because it's not easy to just come up with a new idea from the head. It's not just very easy. How do you get to know that this is actually the research question? This is new, this is original. Number one, these are some of the tips that you may consider using. You have to choose the area of interest, okay? What do I mean by the area of interest? What is it that is interesting you? Like there could be some things that you are interested in just as an individual. Okay, there are those areas where you are interested, like you're passionate about something, okay? Of course, this should be relevant to your field of study. Because researching, from what we defined it, from how we defined it last time, we said it's the expansion of the frontiers of knowledge. So what you're trying to do is to add to what is already there. You're bringing out the new thing. You're bringing a new thing. So there should be something that you are interested in. Of course, it should be within your field of study. So for you, your research can be maybe in labor economics. Do you do labor? Those who do labor economics, it can be maybe from labor economics. There is something that interested you about labor economics. It can be from maybe managerial economics. It can be from cost accounting. It should be just coming from, okay, in short, if you are a business you're a business administrator, it should be within business administration. If you are human resource, you have to add to your field. Okay, it should be adding to your field, but within your field, there is just one area that is really interesting to you. Why should you choose something that is interesting to you? It's because research may take some time and actually the work may be tedious sometimes. So if you're not interested in what you're doing, you may end up giving up along the way. Sometimes it takes time researching and coming up with the findings. So you have to be interested and be moved in that. That's the guide number one. The second guide is that this program, I've already said, is supposed to be new. And then you have to consider finance or the cost, right? Consider the finance or actually the costs. Right, let me just mute this noise. Right, let's mute our mic. Okay, everyone has their mics mute. We have to consider the costs of doing the research. That's why if you go through the research questions, what you're going to find is that they all have, they usually have the budget. There's a part where you put the budget. Of course, if you are writing this research, proposing to this institution or to your sponsors, you may add, a section for the budget. What you're trying to say is that some researches are very expensive. Research questions are very expensive. So you find that you don't have enough money, you don't have enough resources to run or to conduct that research. Please make sure you consider the finance part of it. This is what usually happens. There are some of you, maybe you might be interested to go to the moon and research about the space, right? What happens when you go to the moon? That research question may be fascinating. It may be very interesting, nice, but the problem is, do you have the capacity to sponsor that research? Are you able to fly to the moon and do your research and everything that you're finding out, right? So that's what you're trying to say. You have to consider that, because if you don't consider that, what usually happens, your supervisors, sometimes if they don't pay attention, sometimes they may not look at whether you are able to finance this project. They may just say, oh, you have suggested, it's nice, it's new, it sounds interesting, it sounds original. Okay, go ahead. But you get stuck along the way after the topic has already been approved. You get stuck because you find that you run out of finances to fund the project. So please make sure you choose the topic that you are able to finance, which means the whole procedure of the research, data collection especially, is the one that takes a lot of time and a lot of money actually. Data collection process and everything, including analysis, all the process, you are able to finance it very well. That I have communicated. Consider the research question that can be done within the time limits that you are provided. Remember, as the academicians or as the students, you are there in the university for a limited period of time. You're not there to be in the university for more than 10 years. Then why should you choose a research question that can really be successfully researched if you spend 10 years? So you have to consider the time period that you have. Like, you just have short time. So you will not start, of course, it's not about the interesting topic only, like that you like a good topic. It's also to consider all these issues, the time that you have. As undergraduate students, usually have a semester, about maybe 6 months to do your research. Now, you will need the research that you can manage to do within 6 months. Don't get the research that requires 5 years again. And by the way, are you able to hear me? And are you able to see the screen? I may be talking alone. And people are unable to hear me. No, okay. On the issue of the time, this actually has, it has affected most of the students, especially at postgraduate level. You find that a master's student may be there studying. You may even take more than 2 years that you're required to take. You take even 4 years, because the university is not actually obsessed, by graduating anyone. It's not in a hurry of graduating anyone. The university just wants to graduate anyone who has completed the work. So you would find that your friends have graduated 2 years because they chose the question that they can do within the time limit. But you are not yet done. And these are the issues that you find people researching, doing the postgraduate more than 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Sometimes it could be that they never considered the time limit that when they were choosing the research question. They chose a very complex research question that could not be, handled within the time limits are given. So you have to consider that as well. You will need this information right now and in the exam, even in the future. You will also need to consider availability of data. Now, you remember in business mathematics and statistics, we introduced you to the basics of data science. Yeah, we said that always you need data as you are researching it. It's very important. You need data actually. It's only the data that can help you to come up with your findings. So now the problem is some people choose the questions that where they don't consider where they are going to find the data to support them. It's very important that you think about that, especially if the research that you're going to do most of the times is not primary. It will not use more of primary data where you are going in the places to get data using questionnaires. That work, it takes a lot of money and yeah, it takes time. But you have to ask yourself, is this information that I want to research about, is it available? Take, for example, you want to measure, let's say, the level of, maybe you want to start about corporate governance in financial institutions. That is to say, the level or at which those financial institutions, are are keeping the law, are following the law in the way how they handle their transactions. The question may really be sounding nice, but whom do you think is going to give you data that you need about people being honesty or being dishonesty, being faithful and unfaithful at the places of work, especially in banking, setups or banking institutions? You see, because the moment you just go there and start finding out, you guys, are you able to following? You guys, are you faithful here? Like, people will just start thinking you are maybe, those guys that are coming to spy or do whatever. You get the point. So you have to consider all that. And again, the research that you are doing is supposed to be ethical. Now, these tips that I'm giving you are the ones that will help you that every time, the time that you're going to submit your research proposals very soon, the research question, I think it should be maybe this year or next year. When you're going to be since you don't do semesters, right? Don't do semesters. So most likely this so like as you are doing what's this? Your research, you are submitting your research topic. These are some of the things that your lecturers will be considering. Is your research ethical? By the research being ethical, what I mean is that, like, is it complying with is it conflicting or complying with the laws of the land? For example, maybe you want to conduct a research about, let's say, the efficiency of some chemicals on the deletion of pregnancies, right? Do we have something like deletion? Or like eliminating, what do you call those pregnancies? There are those medicines that are there. Now, you are researching about that. You see, you want people to be removing their pregnancy, and you're looking at the powerful medicine, and so you are finding out, you're researching about that. Or maybe terminating, you call it terminating the pregnancy, or deleting. This is a common term I think in the space nowadays. Deleting. You want to delete the pregnancy, among others. But all we say is that the message that we're giving you here is that your research has to be ethical. Yeah, you have to consider that issue again. So I've already talked about the issue of availability of data, the issue of ethics, the issue of finance, the issue of relevance. Did I say that? No, I didn't. Okay. Your research question is supposed to be relevant. What we mean by relevant is supposed to be useful. Okay, it is supposed to be useful. You don't research about something that is not a problem or that is not going to help anyone. Yeah, your research has to be very helpful. So these are some of the things that you consider when you are choosing the topic number one. Then now, how do you choose? What are some of the steps that you can follow when you're choosing? some of the steps that you can follow to come up with a topic. The easiest that you can do, you can approach your lecturers, your professors, your researchers. Okay. When you approach your professors or your researchers, your lecturers, usually most of these people, they are always researching, yeah? So they have the topics always. What I mean by having, it doesn't really mean that they have already researched on that topic. They may have the topics that they are planning even to research on if they have time. Or they may also have topics that were supposed to be researched some time back, but they were not researched. Like they may have all these on their fingertips. So they can guide you. Is one of the easiest step where you go and then they suggest to you that maybe you can research about this and then we can supervise you. One of them. One of the easiest way. Then the second one is backtracking research. This is where you go, that's where you go. You read widely about, you just read about the previous research questions. This is where you go. For example, you guys are Unza students. You go there in the special collection. There is a part in the library that we call the special collection. You can find the research publications that are there always a lot. Just get the section that you're interested in or of your field and read more about those. That was about physics, right? You read about those topics that people have done already to give you the insights of the level of knowledge that is already available in what you want to learn. Sometimes you may not be interested in anything, but just read you. Okay, read. As you read these topics, you're going to be realizing that some issues will be coming up that you may be interested in finding out as time goes on. Okay, so you can choose maybe from your own experience those things that interest you and you just want to find out about something, or maybe picking the same topic that I've said, the same research proposals, research publications that are there. You read more about them. Yeah, as you read about these topics, what you get interested in are the keywords, right? You're going to pick some of the keywords in the topic, in the field that you are interested in. And then as you pick these keywords are the ones that you're going to use as you are searching, especially when you go online to search more about the field, the area that you're interested in finding out. Okay. So we have already said that you need to choose a very broad, to start with, you can choose a broad area or broad topic, very big. Let's say, for example, you want to understand about what? Unemployment, right? You want to understand about unemployment. That's so big and very general. Why? When you pick that I want to understand about unemployment, then you can start reading about employment. Just read. Yeah, just find out about unemployment, listen to recordings, videos about unemployment, then you start narrowing down now. Because you can't just say about unemployment. That's too general. You have to be narrowing down until it becomes very specific. Maybe you can say the level of what? Unemployment among the what? The fresh graduates in Zambia, right? At least that is now more specific. The level of unemployment among the first male graduates. That one is even more specific. So you can just try to make it, narrow down in short so that it's easier. Be more specific as we move on. But for a start, you may not manage to be specific. You can pick the broad area, read more about it, and then you start narrowing down. We are choosing the research topic. That's what we are trying to share with you. I've already said that you can read people's publications, identify. Now, this is what you do when you are reading people's publications. You have to identify the limitations. Okay, so far, are you able to hear me? I talk for a long time, then you people are not even hearing. Hello, are you able to hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. About the limitations. So, number one, when you are reading a research publication, there is always a part for limitations and recommendations of each research. So you can be interested, you go down that part where there are limitations, right? So that whenever you're reading that research paper, you understand what the limitations of that research that was conducted. Analyze the limitations. So, the limitations can give you an idea. Oh, this person was limited by what? Or maybe the research was just limited to, maybe the person was saying, let me pick it like this. You research a question about the level of unemployment research for first male graduates, are like the fresh graduates, right? Or in the first 2 years of graduation for male graduates. You get that idea? So the limitation is that this research was just limited to the male graduates. You can have an idea to say, what if we research about females then? You can restructure the question, the same question, and now research about female. That's new again. Because the person was concentrating on males. So that was the audience and everything. Right. You can research and change it, flip it, look at women. Oh, it was about fresh graduates. What if we look at unemployment for the people who are not fresh graduates? So maybe for people who have stayed after 10 years after graduation, what happens? Like all those are questions that you can ask yourselves. I was just giving you an example. So you can use the limitations that were there with this research and take advantage of these limitations so that you do it in a way that will mitigate those limitations that were done. These same research publications, they have a part where there are recommendations. Recommendations. Now, when you go to recommendation, the same part where there are recommendations, pick the recommendation and analyze them properly. They can give you ideas for the areas that have not yet been researched. Because as someone is recommending, you are going to pick an idea there that, oh, this is a problem, this is missing. Okay? Then again, from the recommendations, there is also a part where they put future research, like the topics for further research. Usually most of the publications from masters going up, they have a part where you put topics for future research at postgraduate. So where you suggest that in the near future, it's only that I am limited due to maybe time, money, whatever. But to those who may have money, may have time, whatever, in the future, you can ask about this, ask about this. So there will be a list again at the end of the areas that have not yet been explored about that topic that you want to study. So when you read it's the most easiest way to find the topics and identify the gaps. When you read other people's work that has been published, it will help you even to identify the gaps, what has been missing so far. Then the other way of doing it, you can go online, and of course you have identified the keywords and search the keywords, then the publications will come. Now, a caution is that when you go online, don't just go and move all over. Go to specific websites. For example, for research, I can recommend Google Scholar. Google Scholar. All right, just there, Wikipedia, whatever, everything. Go to specific. Google Scholar is very powerful for research, extremely. It's one of them, but there are many other websites that are there that we can recommend and suggest to you. You go there and type the keywords. Then once you just type the keyword, for example, you just type at unemployment, you will have a lot of publications that have been published about unemployment thousands and thousands of them, which means that your topic, as long as you have too many of the, what's this, the publications that have already been done, just know that your topic is too broad first. So you have to narrow it down, try to refine it. At least the keywords should be combined 2 and above. Maybe 2 words, unemployment of fresh graduates. Then you know those, as you are doing the searching, the online search, it will help you to have an idea of what has already been researched and how far people have already gone in terms of research. So this is what you would do. There is a question. Go ahead. Is that a question? Okay. So I have said that you have to identify the limitations of the previous research, specific problems maybe in your area, or maybe the area, the research that was done last time, it was insufficient. Like it didn't really do much of the job, or didn't address the problem very well. You can redo the research. Okay, there is that. You redo the research to refine the work that was done. Can you restructure the question again? So all those are some of the things that you can actually get. Then you have to make sure that you look at the feasibility of the research. I've already said, do you have enough skills needed to handle that? You can acquire that, but it's about time and resources. Do you have equipments that are needed? Do you have enough knowledge? And do you have financial resources? Those are some of the things that you may consider as you are choosing a research question. This time around, I call for questions or a contribution. We are looking at the research question. Just a research question today. Is there any question? Any contribution?
Sir.
Ma?
So, like when you're doing a research question, is it a must that you have to research on something that is in line with what you're studying? Let's say your program.
Right. A very good question. Yeah. Because when you are researching, what's the idea of research? From what we said during the first lecture, we defined the research. We said the other way of looking at it is the expansion of the frontiers of knowledge. Now, how do you add to the board of knowledge in the field that you are not in? You have to add to the board of knowledge of the field that you are in. So there are some of people that go, you are in the business, you start suggesting the topics about health. You see your supervisor or whatever will refuse the topic because that's not your field. You're adding, you want to research and add to the board of knowledge, but of the field that you are not in. We want you to research within the field that you are in. Add to your knowledge, to the board of knowledge of your field. Does that help?
Yes, sir.
Though I have limited this to academic research. This is about academic research. But if you are researching about something else, not about academics, maybe in practical, in real life, applied research, maybe so you are solving the problem for the company, you can go and solve beyond what you, but for academics, you are limited to, what you studied. Okay. Okay. You know, the part of the question that we are addressing said, there is a need of you choosing a research topic, the aims and the objectives of research. Okay, so we are looking at question number 2B. I'm on part number 3. Let me comment on the research objectives. Okay. Yeah, research objective. What do you need, okay, to come up with the research objective? Now, research objectives. What about research objectives? This is a very interesting conversation now. Look, the objectives of the research, they are the major things that your research will achieve at the end of it all. You have already identified your topic, but what are you going to achieve? What's the objective of your research? Now get that in research, the objectives are grouped into two. There is what we call general objectives, and the specific objectives. All these are supposed to appear. Specific objectives. The general objectives is basically the main reason is borrowed from the purpose statement of your research. So why are you researching? It's just more like a rephrase of the question, okay? Yeah, that's the general. Let me give you an example of a certain topic. I'll give you this topic, just an example, so that you understand how to come up with objectives. Research topic that I am giving is this one. We want to look at the determinants. The determinants of what? Of GDP, gross domestic product. Just for an example. You want to research about the determinants of GDP. What determines GDP? Okay. Right. So, what determines GDP? This is also general. You can say what determines GDP in Zambia. You are more specific now. What determines GDP where? Okay. Now, this is the topic. What could be the aim of the topic? The aim of the topic is to bring out the factors that impact GDP. Right? Because of that now, you can easily come up with a general objective. What's a general objective? The objective of this is to do what? Is to assess the what? The factors, you know, the factors determining GDP, or assess the factors affecting or influencing GDP, or factors impacting GDP. You get the point? So that's general objective. So that's general. It's a rephrase of the same question, the research problem. But what are you going to put as the specific objective of this very question? Now, when you have done the research, since you know there are those factors that are there, of course, through research, through theory, there will be some factors that will come out. And you're going to write them down. So you will say, for example, we know the factors that affect GDP are imports, right? We have import, is it imports and exports? You call them net exports, right? The difference between import and exports is called net exports. Let me just pick this one. Net exports. What else is there? Consumption, maybe something like that. Consumption levels, taxation, you know, those things. Investments, the level of investment. Okay. I was just giving you an example. Interest rate. Yeah. Now, these are some of the factors, the determinants. But how can we come up with the objectives, the specific ones? So we are now more detailed. So what you can do now, you can say, first, the specific objective is to determine what? The impact of what? Net exports on GDP. That is at the end of the research. We want to determine the impact. That's one. You can say again, to determine maybe the consumption levels, you know, on GDP, the impact of consumption on GDP. We want to determine the impact of taxation on GDP. We also want to determine or to examine the impact or the influence of investments on GDP. And finally, we want to assess the impact or the influence of the interest rates on what? On GDP. Now I am more specific. This is specific. First of all, we just said we want to determine what? We want to determine the factors affecting GDP. That's all. Right. It's general. Afterwards, now we know those some of the factors that have come out from our research, from the findings that we have done already, from what we have read from other researchers. We know that these are some of the variables. Then we bring them, and then you break them down like that. So this is an example that I have given to you of objectives. So in short, how you formulate the objective, there should be the verb. The verb is followed by the relationship that should be explained, and then it is followed by the sample size. What should I say? The verb, such as to determine. Determining is a verb. It's a doing word. What relationship? We are looking at the impact of a certain term on a certain variable. That's a relationship. In, be a specific, maybe in Zambia, in whatever. Because your question will be more specific. So you even give us the specificity of your sample that you're dealing with. So that's very, very important. So basically, that's how you come up with these research objectives. Yeah, they are not very difficult, and you come up with them, and I'll also train you further on how to just come up with them. Any question? Is there any question? People are already tired, or people have gone to sleep, or which one is which now? Are we still there in the meeting? Or you have gone to...
No, yeah.
Okay. We are following.
Yes, let's endure. We still have a lot of things to do in research. So let me do this. We have a lot of things to do in research. There is much work.